we all as leaders aspire to,
Yeah.
if we only create pride and purpose for something,
That's what
then
makes it move.
your
Yeah.
life is fulfilled
Like now,
as a leader,
Vani,
right?
like you said, firstly, I'm very thankful you came yourself and you got the whole team along, because I feel in our startup community, firstly I feel India is on a destined journey. India, right?
Yeah.
And our generation, मैं तो थोड़ा हिंदी भी बोलूँगा,
Yeah.
everybody more or less understands
नहीं,
हिंदी, no? मुझे तो लगता है हमारी जनरेशन का डेस्टिनी है कि इंडिया को डेवलप बनाना है. It's our destiny to reclaim the numero uno position we always had in the world, both economically, culturally, technologically. We don't even realize what India was earlier, and now with economic stability, there's a lot of realization of actually what our true strength is, but we're not there yet. It's not like we are just working for the sake of working. We are working for the sake of purpose. And our purpose is, at least at Ola, our purpose is that we want to fulfill this dream that as a child we all had, कि foreign देश में ऐसा होता है, अपने देश में क्यों नहीं होता है. We've all felt that, no, in different degrees. Those of us who grew up in India, we've all felt that कि यार जब cousin जो बाहर रहता है वो मेरे लिए कुछ लाएगा तो मैं, but why? And now we have all the winds in our favor. The political stability, the economic growth, per capita GDP, venture capital, so much money coming in. So this is the time to be young in India. Yaar. In general, I feel that one. And
old is also okay, Bhavish.
Young of energy. Lifespans are going up anyways. Yeah. So that's that's the belief with which I have built our group across all the businesses we are building. Now coming into Ola Electric, right? The purpose of Ola Electric, and sometimes we think of mission, vision. For me, it's actually very simple: purpose. What is the purpose of Ola Electric? Purpose of Ola Electric is, the world is going to go through a energy transition. The world needs sustainable paradigms. India is 20% of the world. The world can't achieve its sustainability goals without India. No matter what the Americans want to think, no matter what the Europeans want to think, India के बिना हो ही नहीं सकता. 20% लोग यहाँ पे हैं, right, of the world, and this is a higher portion of the global growth is coming from here now. So the world cannot achieve its sustainability goals without India. But for India to achieve its energy transition, India needs to think both in terms of scale as well as in terms of technology. We in general in India, if you look at the corporate environment in India, the large traditional corporates don't understand technology very well. The new tech companies don't understand scale or anything outside the digital domain very well. And so the purpose of Ola Electric was कि यार ये जो energy transition है इसमें India को एक meaningful player बनाना है. And we then decided, how do we do that? So a couple of things. We said, number one, we need to make the right products for Indians. Now, we don't buy luxury cars in India. There's a small segment, this room, which will buy luxury cars. But the Aam Aadmi, which is 90% of India, for two-wheeler, three-wheeler, choti gadi, that's what they use. So those kind of products need to be made in India. Globally, those kind of products are not being made, right? And you'll be surprised to see this. Maybe I'd like this presentation also, this chart. Building the products is alone not enough. Firstly, the products have to be very aspirational. India is a very aspirational country. The young people in India very aspirational. हमें कुछ ऐसा second grade माल नहीं चाहिए. हमें first grade माल चाहिए, दाम second grade वाला चाहिए. Right? ये तो आप सबको पता ही है. But hence the kind of engineering that needs to be done, manufacturing at scale that needs to be done, supply chain work that needs to be done to build at the cost of India but world-class products is very non-trivial. And you saw that today at the factories. The second piece though, product itself बनाना बहुत जरूरी है. But second, more importantly, is to build the core technology. As India's economy is growing into the future, it's very, there's a goal कि 2047 में हम developed country होंगे. We can only get there if the economy grows in a productive way, right? The productivity of the economy has to grow. We cannot just mine more commodities, do more trading, build more digital platforms for trading. All those things have a place in the economy, but fundamentally we have to add productivity at a rate faster than other global competitors of ours as a country. The way China is adding productivity, the way the Americans are adding productivity, we have to leapfrog them. That can only be done by winning the technologies of the future. And hence we said we have to go backward into the core technology here, which is the lithium cell. And then you saw what we are doing there.
So, but Bhavish, why are you different? You took a different approach of really sort of becoming a technologist, having a technology vision of what you want to achieve, and a humanitarian vision with the girls. The reason I was so touched with the girls is I was just thinking, you know, my mother was always like, padai, you know, I want to do whatever it takes to get my girls educated. Now, without that one woman's vision for two girls, me and my sister, and that completely changed the trajectory for me, family, maybe a broader ecosystem and so forth. And these girls, when I was seeing, I was like, 4,000 of them, 5,000 of them. What is the ripple effect of that in the next 20 years?
Absolutely,
right?
Vani. So actually, I didn't answer this question. So I'll answer this. See, the reason we decided women was a moment of inspiration. Actually, you know, when I was setting up Ola Electric, I had not thought that women only karenge. But you know, on a lighter note, the actual inspiration came from us time pe Women's World Cup ho raha tha, Cricket World Cup.
Acha.
You guys remember there was a Women's Cricket World Cup where the Indian team, I think, went to the finals.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, yeah, our Indian cricket team is doing so well. And that was the same time I was planning this whole factory. Then one fine day I said, why can't we make it all women? Because then we were discussing and debating, okay, men hone chahiye, kitne ratio, women 10% hoengi, 15% hoengi. So in one meeting I just said to the HR team, we'll do it all women. You know, उनको लगा पागल हो गया ये कि कहाँ से आएंगे, कैसे ट्रेन करेंगे, उनके परिवार आने देगा कि नहीं आने देगा. But
why? I want to get to who's Bhavish, because you know, you don't unless maybe there was nothing compelling in your background, but usually most men don't think about this, right? So
I think, Vani, the two questions that you asked, what made my journey different, and I'm still in the early days of my journey, by the way. That disclaimer is clear. I have a lot of things to do. But I think raw material to sab mein same hai, Vani. It's the purpose which defines your journey, right? And purpose you cannot make up. I'm actually increasing, while I'm a very rational guy, I've become a big believer in you're an instrument of the universe, right? You connect with energy around you in a certain way. Some things appeal to you, some things you contribute to the universe. And your purpose is only defined by you. You cannot change, you cannot make it up. And if you make it up, you will not succeed in life. Right? So sometimes I have also been misunderstood कि यार ये बहुत aggressive है, या ये ऐसा करता है, वैसा करता है. But I'm just being true to who I am. Right? I'm very honest and clear in my own heart what I want to achieve and do. And I think that clarity and that intent comes out in whatever actions. So the reason women, for example, you know, if you look at our economic context, India is probably one of the most backward countries when it comes to women participation in workforce. I think we all know the statistics.
Yes.
But when you go to the ground and, you know, gaon mein jao, you see the human face of that statistic. No, okay, women are just not, and it's not the fault of the women. It's not even the fault of their family, actually. It's the fault of my peers.
System.
Systems or the industrialists. There's no reason it could not have been done earlier. There's no reason. Women to wahi thi. Agar yahan pe main nahi karta to fir nahi hota. So there is no reason it could not have been done earlier. It's just a lack of imagination on the entrepreneur's part. So I don't even blame the government. I don't blame the family. I don't blame the woman. I blame the entrepreneur. So that's the reason we wanted to set this up as an all-women factory. And when I say all women, it's actually all women except for the mid-management, where we don't have women choices. Hopefully, some of the girls are already growing up into more mid-management in the factory. But the workforce is all women, right? Manpower is all women. Pun intended. Irony. Yeah. So
this journey to become a technologist, right? Can anybody here do it? What was the process of self-learning and that deep reflection on your purpose in this universe that brought you to core IP karna hai?
My feeling, Vani, is that technology actually is not digital. वो इंडिया में ना हम एक echo chamber में हैं बेंगलोर में, तो हमें लगता है टेक्नोलॉजी मतलब डिजिटल ओनली. टेक्नोलॉजी का डिक्शनरी डेफिनेशन क्या है? एनीथिंग व्हिच गिव्स humankind leverage on productivity, cutting edge methods of productivity leverage. That's all what technology is. Now the technology of the future, 10-15 years ago, digital was the technology of the future. But I think our ecosystem is stuck in that. Technologies of the future are energy transition, AI, semiconductors, space, biotechnologies, material sciences. What you saw in the battery center is actually not just for batteries. It's actually material expertise, how to manipulate materials, how to make molecules, how to so that's a material science technology capability we're building there. So when we look ahead, one thing I feel our ecosystem has to open up minds to is technology is not making an app anymore. Like bijli aaj technology nahi hai na. It's part of the plumbing. Plumbing bhi technology nahi. Plumbing is become part of the plumbing. So technology is
commodity.
Technology is whatever gives humankind leverage. And that the young people of those जो next generation करने वाले हैं उनको ये सोचना चाहिए कि what is the cutting edge thing. Now this also reflects in national debates around कि हम इंडिया में R&D में enough spend नहीं करते. As a industry, government को blame करती, government industry को blame करती, कोई change करता नहीं है. Right? So we have to actually, and you know, in the consumer internet world also, I don't think we've truly invested into R&D money. We've invested into
process maybe.
Software processes and all, but that's not R&D fundamentally. So we have to actually, as a country, invest more into R&D. Industry, academia, government, all, and I think anybody can start doing it. I'm a life example, real example. Started from a consumer internet background, moved to manufacturing and all of this, and now even in AI, I'd love to talk to you. I'm sure there are questions in that.
Yeah. Everybody is fascinated with that, right? One doesn't think starting from cab you have to do EV vehicles, let alone EV vehicles. You have to do cell batteries and you know power production and all of that. So what was that pivot?
So Vani, my own background and journey, right? All of us have a unique upbringing, history and all, right? So there are two things I feel which are very unique to my own upbringing, which defines intuitively what I do, right? First is I'm actually a technologist. Unlike most of my startup peers, I went to IIT Bombay Computer Science. Then after that, I worked for 2 years in research. I used to publish and publish papers and conferences and journals for a living for 2 years. I was in a PhD program. I got admitted in a PhD program after that, which I decided not to do and start up. So I have a very deep appreciation and understanding about multiple technologies, the process of technology development, research, etc. beyond just system integration, right? So that's just my background. And having that background, I feel I have a reasonable understanding and appreciation कि इंडिया में अगर 20 साल में हमें development करनी है, if we have to go from a $4 trillion economy to a $30 trillion economy, or let's say 10% annual growth rate, it can only happen through technology. It cannot happen through just building more manufacturing only, or commodity manufacturing, or mining, or trading. You know, those are all, they have their place in the whole pantheon of value addition, but we have to become champions of the future technology. Which is what actually, I think we don't have a choice also on that.
So one question, right? I mean, today I can say, I think I can speak on behalf of everyone. Though you did this, we all feel a sense of pride that we can have some ownership to it. Of course, we have done nothing other than sit in a car and go there. It's partly, it feels like a collective achievement of India, right? And we are, of course, a small part of it. But I think we left there with "ye bhi ho sakta hai."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that sense of pride and you giving that to people, I think then who knows what green shoots come from there and
Absolutely,
where the forests get created.
My hope is that people from Ola's employee base go out and start technologies, businesses beyond the beaten path.
But the question I was thinking is, you know, if we just look over the last couple of years, lithium prices have dropped like nothing, right? So this is very volatile. This whole environment is very volatile. There's so many forces tugging. Raw material is volatile. Everything is volatile today, and technology shift is volatile. So one is doing technology. One is being able to compete on a global scale, because money, material is global today, right? So can we do it? Can we do the technology is one thing, but can we get the kind of yield, can we get the kind of price global competitiveness?
That's a great question, Vani, because I think in India we generally have a closed mind to some of these areas which we don't understand, right? And nobody in particular, but in general as an ecosystem we don't understand. जैसे lithium का आपने बोला, इंडिया में क्या होता है कि यार lithium हमारा छूट गया, अब sodium करेंगे, right? But we don't realize that lithium and sodium are not fungible, right? Just a little technical thing. We all know the periodic table. उसमें lithium पहले आता है, उसके बाद sodium आता है, उसके बाद potassium आता है. So lithium is the smallest atom in that periodic table. It's in the top, right? So lithium and so all that plus one valency things will always conduct current and hence always make batteries out. You can make a potassium battery also, right? But lithium will always be more energy dense than sodium, so it's not a replacement. So in India in general, because we don't know these domains enough, we feel that we make some presumptions, and across the stakeholders, media makes this, government makes this, other industrialists make it. So, but we can do it. Now, what does it take to become competitive in a global stage on this? It takes a lot of scale, which India has. We have the promise of scale.
Scale from consumption?
Consumption. Yeah, that's why we have the promise of scale, but we will need to invest to bring that scale into our business model, right? Like you saw my factories, these are all built for scale. If you go to any other EV company, uski choti si factory hogi. So it needs capital also. That's the reality of the game. I was lucky enough that I had already been successful once that in this company I had the ability to raise enough capital on day one. But I also then invested in a methodical way to build that scale from day one. Now once you get, you need to like almost weaponize this scale of India, which I've done through my manufacturing there, scale of manufacturing. Then you have to percolate it down across the supply chain, right down to the lithium prices. Then sometimes we don't realize, we don't do deep enough research on the technology and the supply chain. अब जैसे आप बोल रहे हैं lithium price is volatile है, but if you actually systematically analyze the lithium prices, there are some macro and micro factors which cause prices to move up or down. And then as a large company, you can have a strategy on, okay, this is how I want to play the lithium price volatility, which I foresee. And then you have to go to the mine level. So we, for example, know at a mine level the cost of producing lithium. Okay, Australia की mine से lithium कितने में निकलता है? Chile की mine से lithium कितने में निकलता है? So then we can procure lithium in a certain price. Then we can anticipate better supply-demand shocks that might come. Right, so that diligence is required when you're competing with the best in the world. Yeah.
So do you see semiconductors coming back
into India? They were never
Would you
here.
do a no? When coming back is not the word, because we would have never thought battery manufacturing, EV manufacturing. We of course. I think everybody got enough chemistry today, anode, cathode.
You saw a solid state video also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so I think we all went back to our college or school chemistry, which is really what battery is at the end of the day. Everything else is the complexity, right? But the question is why, if we think about fab moved out of US, is cost of manufacturing, right?
Yeah.
And fab to go back to US will be impossible now, right?
Yeah.
So likewise, since you want India to own, so you have to own our electronics import. Is just, I mean, unless you solve for that,
it's a
right?
big...
So do you see going into fabs? You have 2,000 acres lying around.
Yeah, land is free.
I know.
Anybody, but anyways, I'll actually
Clean
answer.
energy, clean room, all that you have already set up.
Yeah, so I'll actually answer this question stepping back first on a macro level, right? If you look into history also, right, there have been fundamentally two technology platforms always. The technologies of energy and technologies of data manipulation or intelligence in today. So if you think of the first industrial revolution, it was an energy revolution, right? Coal, and then steam engine, which was a way of conversion of energy from one form into another, and then that led to colonization of the world. Then if you think of the late 1800s, early 1900s, that's when the early elements of the digital revolution started. Post World War II, that really amplified the digital data and hence now intelligence. Almost all technologies in the world are based on these two energy paradigms, these two technology paradigms. Kuch bhi aap le lo. It's either energy or intelligence. And as a result, you can imagine anything that exists is a combination of these two technology paradigms. And if you look at the macro geostrategic picture of the world, what's happening in the world is China, if you take a 20, 30 or 50 year ago period, what America did, and I'm going to put a little bit of geopolitics also into this, because we need to understand the world we live in also to be able to operate in it, right, at a macro level. America took a call in the 70s, ke, let's take advantage of the Chinese low-cost labor arbitrage to continue to have low-priced stuff to consume, right, at a very simplistic level. They didn't realize the strategic impact that it'll have now. So they outsourced all of their manufacturing, which China gaya, chota mota Taiwan mein aa gaya, fab Taiwan mein aa gaya. बीच में जापान ने कुछ किया, but Japan plateau कर गया at one point. Korea ने थोड़ा सा किया, but largely China became the almost I think 45 to 50% of global manufacturing value addition happens in China. Right. Now, as a result, what's happening now is the world is actually split into two very interesting supply chains. China is the world's leader in energy technologies today. And when I say energy, I mean broadly manufacturing, material sciences, etc. China is by far the leader. The entire new energy supply chain is linked to China now. The world of data and intelligence, America is the leader, but not the supply chain, not the fab of it. Fab तो उन्होंने उसी period में outsource कर दिया. India कहीं भी नहीं. Whereas India is the largest population in the world, so we need to have a strategy across both, as a country, and then our companies, etc. need to, and our generation otherwise we'll just be हम जो यूरोप के साथ हो रहा है, वो एनर्जी रशिया से खरीद रहे हैं, डिजिटल स्टफ अमेरिका से खरीद रहे हैं, अपना फैक्ट्री का माल चाइना में बेच रहे हैं, राइट? चाइना इज अ मार्केट, रशिया इज अ एनर्जी, यूएस इज द डिजिटल, खुद का कुछ अस्तित्व बचा नहीं है, राइट? हम तो वहां तक पर उस लाइफ तक पहुंचे ही नहीं है अभी तक. So we actually have a challenge on our hands that we have to create these two ecosystems in India, a new energy ecosystem, and we are behind the curve vis-a-vis China. But the beautiful thing is energy is now not a commodity like pumping oil. Energy is a technology. You saw it today. Energy is about material sciences. And we can we can leapfrog what China has done and build the future of energy technologies already. Same way as the intelligence ecosystem, fabs, etc. We need to have a strategy on that. So now that's the macro perspective. To answer your specific question, Vani, I feel, I'm going to be a contrarian on this. I actually feel after putting up the gigafactory and all, इतना भी मुश्किल नहीं है fab बनाना. Right? मुश्किल है, इतना भी मुश्किल नहीं है. Normally, we hear it's so hard because जो उस field में है वो they don't want more entrants, no? Like हाँ मत आओ, बहुत मुश्किल है, हम कर रहे हैं, हम आपके लिए भला कर रहे हैं. Right? अगर मुश्किल है तो तुम क्यों कर रहे हो? Right? Common sense, no? थोड़ा earthy knowledge. So it's hard. It gets harder as the process node gets more and more advanced. But for 28 nanometer and older, which is a lot of that stuff goes into EVs, etc. AC वगैरह में analog chips, etc. वो तो होना चाहिए इंडिया में, हो भी सकता है easily. टाटा और TSMC कर रहे हैं, होना चाहिए और होना चाहिए. Cutting edge fab nodes भी हमें लाने चाहिए. Those will be more challenging. I don't think anybody is doing that right now. But the broader picture is, if you think of semiconductor as one of the anchors of this digital ecosystem, right? It's not the be-all and end-all. It's a very important strategic play for us as a country. But let's look at the digital ecosystem. Who owns our data? YouTube, Meta. The irony. Look at the irony of this. We create the data. We are the creators. I'm not about the politics of it. I'm actually talking about the technology of it, right? So our data is not owned by us. Data is owned by American platforms. Our devices are not owned by us. It's owned by the American platforms. Our cloud is not owned by us. It's owned by the American platforms, right? Azure, AWS, GCP. Our chips are not made by us or designed by us. Forget the fab. Fab to ek hai, but Intel, AMD, Nvidia, the developer tools is not owned by us. GitHub, whatever, PyTorch, whatever. None of this is. It's all the Valley ecosystem. Now. दूध के दूल्हे तो है नहीं वो, राइट? हाँ, कोई अगर किसी को अगर ऐसा लगता है कि वो लोग बड़े दूध के दूल्हे हैं तो sorry, I'm telling you Christmas is not real or Santa Claus is not real. Right? And the important thing that's now happening is, see, abhi tak already we don't control. I'll give you an interesting data point. India generates 20% of the world's digitized data. Okay, 20% because we are 20% of the world's population. And 4G के बाद तो हम कितना consume कर रहे हैं data? We generate about 20% of the world's digitized data. We actually generate much more because we are a very active population, young population active. वहाँ पे तो सब थोड़े इतने active नहीं है, बोलते नहीं है, घूमते नहीं है. Right? So we actually, as a country, generate so much data. A part of it is digital, captured and digitized on digital platforms. 20% of the world's data generated in India. 1/10 of that is stored in India. 90% of that is stored outside India. Okay. Now look at the irony here, and we create the data. We don't own the data. We don't even store the data in our country. Data is exported from India into global data centers, processed for intelligence by OpenAI, etc., others, sold back to me in a dollar rate. Does it sound similar to something what happened 200 years ago?
Yeah, cotton.
Cotton,
Textile.
East India Company, exactly the same thing. But today is not a world of colonization, but this is exactly the same thing happening all over again. And the challenge is we've already gone through. China was smart enough to cut this at the policy level when it began. Even in the first wave of digitization or
E-commerce and everything.
it just made a policy that American companies can't India. Then their own ecosystem developed. Now India mein wo ho nahi sakta. And now let's do a thought experiment. Google, WhatsApp. Do you think if we shut down Google today, it'll topple the government? We can't shut down Google today. And you can't create a Google because these businesses are such that once there's a position established, you can't. Bing Google ko nahi kha paya, to hum India mein kaise kha lenge, right? So, but there is a window of opportunity, I feel, for the Indian ecosystem. And those windows of opportunity come when there's a technology discontinuity. Right? Just like EVs is a discontinuity of this ICE technology. Now there's a discontinuity with AI. But these American companies are also not sitting free, no? They're also not incumbent mindset people. So they're good companies, great capital. All the talent is there. The pura ecosystem pe unki jakad hai. Right? So, but we have an opportunity because of this AI, this discontinuity in technology. And AI is a unique domain where it's not just going to be a Google search thing. It's going to be everything.
Pervasive.
All pervasive, right? So if there's a ChatGPT 4.0, सबने use किया होगा, काफियों ने use किया होगा. If that thing is going to be the teacher teaching our kids, if that thing is going to be it's not even a human at the other end on a digital platform owned by a different country. Huh? That thing is the thing of everything. Look at how easily you can program people's minds. You don't even need a human creator, a million of them to make and then a TikTok algorithm. That itself was so bad, right? This thing is going to be, somebody will decide कि हाँ अब India में ये दिखाओ, वो दिखा दोगे, right? But we don't have enough strategic debate about in public about these things. So one of my efforts in the last few weeks, as I've started scaling up Kritrim now, is to actually first get public awareness of these challenges. Firstly, India is 20% of the world. We have had a very rich civilizational past. We have a civilizational memory of our past. Right? Individual memory शायद नहीं है हम लोगों की, especially the youngsters, but we have a civilizational memory of our past. And we have to recreate that glorious future. But it cannot happen on technologies of the old, it cannot happen on just jingoism, it has to happen on technology of the future. So we have to actually win these technologies of the future. It's a long answer, Vani, more passion than answer, but...
No, it's, I mean, there isn't a question really here. We are here to hear you and, I think you are one of the finest thinkers of our generation. And India needs more of those. I think in a different generation, we had Homi Baba thinking ahead on atomic energy or somebody else thinking ahead why ISRO happened. And the fruit of that could be 20, 30, 40, 50 years. But, even Nehru thinking IIT. So whatever. So you need deep forward thinkers. And you're one of those few of our generation. And it's a privilege to have this time and opportunity. Everybody here will remember it today. 10 years from now, 40 years from now, they'll remember this conversation that they've had this opportunity. But India for India, India for the world. Your thoughts?
India, by definition, I think cannot be for India alone. Right? India has always traditionally been an exporter of ideas.
But your four-wheeler, you could sell in India. Will you go sell that
Absolutely,
elsewhere?
See, I tried going international in Ola cabs also, my ride-hailing company, and we were succeeding till COVID happened. And then I had to pull back all my investments because I wanted to just anchor back into India and then make that business profitable here. And we did that. Now is not the time to take that company global now because now it's a commoditized industry globally. So Ola Electric, it's a huge opportunity, especially if you look at the world of mobility. Premium cars, luxury cars, mid-market cars, entry cars, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, right? The world traditionally, in the ICE era, the premium and luxury was the Europeans or the Americans, BMW and the Daimlers or the Ford, GM. Ford was more mid-market, the Ford and GM were more mid-market, and the Europeans were the luxury makers. Japanese and the Koreans were traditionally the lower-end makers, both on cars and two-wheelers. Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, Toyota, whichever ones. There are many more Hyundai, Kia, all these guys were the owners of that. Now we have an opportunity as a country to, because the Japanese are behind in electrification. Hyundai is a good company, but Japanese are behind. So in two-wheelers, three-wheelers, small cars, there's no global champion of electrification. And with India's economic growth rising, that company will come out of India. It is just, this is where I believe the universe is conspiring to make an Indian company successful in this. Because India में scale है. India is the world's largest two-wheeler market. India is the world's largest three-wheeler market. India is, I think, about to be the world's largest small car market. So all of this will be electrified. It will be electrified easier actually than the luxury cars, because the proposition of electrification is lower cost of ownership. And Indian consumer को वही चाहिए. So building scale in India, this is where bring the scale of India into play. Large scale manufacturing, integrating the supply chains, dominating the Indian market first, and then that cost advantage, supply chain advantage, technology advantage, taking to a global market.
You're not the first mover. Why did you think you could do it? And secondly, how should everybody think through that? So if you're not the first mover, what will it take to enter? And you've clearly dominated.
There is an S-curve of every technology. You have to get in at the right period, right time in the S-curve, because building a product, the S-curve is going to happen. Bhavish करेगा या कोई और करेगा, Elon Musk करे, कोई तो करेगा ही, because again this is just, technology is there in the universe, right? Somebody has to just make it happen. So technology S-curve will happen. They didn't get onto that S-curve early enough, and hence now they're behind. They don't have the supply chain scale, they don't have the manufacturing scale, they don't have the R&D scale.
So anybody wanting to be an entrepreneur here, if they get on the right S-curve, even if they're not the first mover,
it is absolutely okay. But you will have to, technology businesses need capital. Ola Cabs raised a lot of capital. Ola Electric raised capital. So you need to have the ability to sell a vision and convince people also.
Since, many aspiring venture capitalists, from a founder perspective, what does it take to be a good venture capitalist? From a founder perspective.
From a founder perspective?
Yeah.
That's a good question, Vani.
Because if they don't understand founders and what founders want, that's the customer, right? If they don't understand their customer, they're never going to be good at what they do.
Actually, if I can turn this around, I think I would think of it as the way from an investment perspective, what is the right way to be a good venture capitalist. And then I think you will, if you're good for yourself, you'll be good for the founder also, right? So I think especially just adding context of technology and the way technologies are moving, I believe the venture model was built for technology returns. In India, generally what has happened lately, not earlier, but lately is venture has become a brand, D2C brand में डाल दो पैसा, ये fitness club में डाल दो पैसा.
Sorry, we did invest in Cult, but I get it.
No, but that's okay, Vani, but I'm making a broader point.
I know.
Yeah, okay. Venture model was invented in the valley for technology investments.
Correct.
Because technology has the 100x return potential, right? Those are more PE type investments or similar other capital class type investments where you'll get a return, but it will not be a technology return. India में वो सब technology return लगता है क्योंकि इंडिया में सब कुछ है build करने को. So fitness उसमें भी अच्छा return आएगा, right? या जो भी D2C brand में अच्छा return आएगा. But fundamentally, I think India needs technology startup founders. India needs genuinely good technology investors. We don't have enough of them. If we have, maybe they've gotten colored by अच्छा India में technology में return आया नहीं आया तो थोड़ा सा ये करते हैं थोड़ा सा वो करते हैं. But actually, we need technology investors. And if young people can truly understand what it means to be technology investors, there are a lot of founders doing interesting technology work now in India. Like in the EV supply chain, for example, I see people building such interesting companies around magnet को ऐसे करेंगे, motor को ऐसे बनाएंगे, drones में कुछ करेंगे. These are very different businesses because they actually need lesser capital. A true technology investment needs lesser capital. I'll tell you an interesting comparison, Vani.
Most founders don't stand up for, I will not give anything for free. In fact, they worry about asking what they're worth, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Almost all the time, I'll first give it for free, then I'll charge something, then I'll raise the prices, whatever.
So you're very, very right, Vani. I think founders sometimes are too shy they have a belief, but they don't operationalize it enough.
It's also a complex topic we won't get into. We Indians have funny relationship with money. And the West doesn't have that problem, right? When I first went to the West as a 21-year-old, it took me 4-5 years to really get my relationship with money very straight,
Huh.
right? Very candid about money, what I want, what I don't want, what I'll do, what I won't do. Here we hesitate, right, to talk about
I think the
money
younger
that way.
generation don't hesitate
Yeah.
that much, huh?
I mean, they are the same founders. We see that first
Maybe
want
my
to come and sell.
generation, I'm a
free-
generation ahead of these people.
Yeah. But still, you know, when it comes to sales,
Yeah.
right? That I see, you know,
Yeah.
many products, they're afraid to ask for their worth. But
हो सकता है. I agree with you. We're generally a little shy on the big stage. Big stage, not literally a stage,
yeah.
but maybe we don't think that we can compete with the best, right? But there's no
There's
reason
a,
we can't.
yeah, there's a little bit of an apology to demand.
I think it's very, you said it right, it's very deeply societal.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the 200, 300 years of colonization. The irony is, you know, while we have a civilizational memory and the young people will also understand that India was the largest economy, Sone ki chidiya, blah, blah. But we actually forget we were the technological leader of the world also. Material sciences, mathematics,
Invention of
surgery,
zero, whatever,
everything.
yeah.
Everything was invented, made in India. We were the technological leader of the world not too long ago. Right? Uska hamare, actually, in public discourse, we don't talk much about that. We were the technology leader. There's
And
no
when
reason
we do
can't.
talk about it, there's almost like a apology for it. Yeah, so what, if we invented zero, that was, what have we done? I think the ensuing 800 plus years of, you know, civilization memory, you know, takes some time undoing. Right?
Actually, that's a personal passion for me, Vani. Actually, I'm me and my wife Raju, you've met.
Yeah, of course.
Vatsala knows her very well. We both are actually starting to invest into this cultural renaissance theme in India. So we're funding archaeologists, we're funding like science-based research into our history. We actually don't know enough. Last year I went to Nalanda. How many of you know of the Nalanda University?
Yeah, 10,000 students way back then.
So I went there. The government has started a new Nalanda University under the MEA, Ministry of External Affairs. The reason it's under MEA is because Nalanda used to attract global students, the original Nalanda. So this one is also meant for a lot of Southeast Asian students, some Tibetans, some Buddhists from elsewhere. So it's just brilliant when you go and see there. So, but I went to this university, I asked, they had an archaeology department, they had a literary studies department, Indology department. They have no money. And यहाँ पे हमारे founders सब angel investment करे जा रहे हैं, इधर पैसा waste करे जा रहे हैं. यहाँ पे डालना चाहिए ना.
You see that in Egypt, right? So a lot of money globally has flown into. So then hence the civilization, the revival, all of that. But here, with the kind of
it's happening
history
now.
we have,
It's happening now, Vani. And I don't say this in the political sense. Actually, I say it in a civil society sense.
Yeah.
You can see now people's interest, people's willingness, as wealth is increasing. We all want to know
Some
more about
pride.
ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is also very important. You know, I feel these two vectors of economic progress and cultural renaissance need to intersect for us, right? For a healthy civil society.